Good morning, beautiful Quest Facebook community. Bernadette with you this morning. I hope you're well. A few minutes late. I'm sorry I had technical glitches this morning, but it's a joy to be here with you as always. So welcome. Please, when you join in, please let me know you've got sound and audio and video and everything. Oh, I can see Kathy's here. Good morning. So today is World Cancer Day. I guess if you haven't been affected by cancer, you don't know that. But today's World Cancer Day, and I thought that I would like to share with you a story that might be that might resonate with some of you, that because we all know somebody who's going through cancer. 1 in 4 people are affected by cancer, probably more. It affects us as a global community. So I thought I'd share a little bit about a dear friend's experience that might chime with you or with someone that you know. And it might be a little bit of inspiration, a little bit of hope, a little bit of validation. So good morning, everyone. I can see a few lovely names there. It's just a joy to be with you. So let's start, as we always do, by welcoming ourselves and positioning ourselves and setting an intention. And my intention is to be more present with you and to share with you little touchstones, because whenever we come to our senses together in community, we're strengthening not only our own neurobiological circuitry, but it's affecting the field in which we live. So let's come together in that way. Remember, with any coming to your senses practice, you can close your eyes or you can keep your eyes open as you like. I'm going to close my eyes just for a moment. I'm putting my hands on my belly. Sometimes I put my hands on my chest. And it just reminds me to feel my breath. And you don't have to change anything about your breath. The idea is simply to notice. We're strengthening the neurocircuitry of noticing. And when we're noticing, we're actually not in the emotion, we're not in the thought, we're not in the distraction. So it's just a touchstone with the breath, and I like to invite myself to have 3 slow, full breaths. And when in doubt with the breath, exhale. When in doubt, breathe out. Let your exhalation be a little bit longer, if you can, than your inhalation. When in doubt, breathe out. And we know that thoughts come into the mind. That is the very nature of the mind. So let's just notice them as if our mind were like a big, beautiful screen, and everything that we are aware of, the breath, the sounds around us, the thoughts that come, the different sensations in our body, all of that are just like things appearing on the screen. And we're in the audience, we're witnessing. So for a few moments, let your expansive awareness notice all the sounds around you. Sounds in the background, in the distance. Or perhaps sounds closer by. Don't need to reach out too far and look for reach for sounds. You just notice what arrives in your awareness. Could even be the sound of your own breathing or sounds that your digestion makes. And then shift your vast awareness, narrow it down if you wish, to sensations. And sensations could include movement, the sense of touch really. I feel the touch of my clothing on my skin, and I'm feeling movement as my body's breathing just by itself. It's moving my belly, my chest and my back, and I can also feel movement of clothing. And then I might notice sounds again, but I come back and I'm feeling my feet. See if you can sense your feet. What are they in touch with? Can you feel the bottom of the feet and the tops of the feet? You might sometimes need to move your toes to bring your awareness there and really feel the feet. But they're a great touchstone. The feet are the furthest part of your body away from your head and your thinking mind. So dropping awareness into the feet can feel sometimes quite grounding. And as we discussed last week, sometimes gently pressing your feet down into the floor, even when you're sitting, is very helpful. It sends a rebound up through the bones of the body. And you might feel a gentle lift through your spine. So there's a sense of touch, just different experiences passing through your awareness. Sense of sounds. And whatever thoughts are going through, they're just other objects in the vast field of your awareness. And you are witnessing all of it. So notice your breathing now. Direct your vast awareness, narrowing it down to just feeling the breathing. Trusting that your body knows how to breathe, and even though sometimes it might feel a little disturbed, it changes all day long. Sometimes the breath comes in through one nostril more than the other. Sometimes the breath is quite rapid or slow. Sometimes it's smooth. Doesn't matter. But what matters is that we notice it, we feel it, we befriend it. And all of these little touchstones, your breath, the movement that it creates, the feet, the sounds, the sensations, the noticing of your thoughts, all of that in these few short moments, the witnessing of it all, the moment you notice you get caught in thoughts and you say, oh, there I was, caught in thoughts, but right here now I'm sitting, I'm feeling, I'm breathing, I'm hearing. That moment, we're changing the chemistry in our bodies. So let's breathe in a little sense of appreciation just for our willingness to do that together. Just for your willingness to show up here today or to watch whenever you're watching. And let's breathe in appreciation for whatever supports us. Breath, friend, sunshine, food, quest community. and appreciation for our bodies, and especially the parts that are working really well. And then when you're ready, breathe in a bit more fully, and you might have a little movement as you welcome your awareness back. I like to move and stretch a little bit. Pardon me. So welcome back. I hope that you feel a little different. It's great to notice whether you do. No expectation, but notice whether you feel more present. So I'd like to share a story about cancer on World Cancer Day. I have several beloved people in my life who are dealing with cancer now, and I'm sure some of you probably do too, and might be your experience. And the theme of this World Cancer Day this year, 2022, is closing the care gap and, bringing more investment to the barriers that prevent people from accessing care when they need it most. And that's a very good intention, and the idea of this day is to raise awareness and to educate and help people understand about prevention and treatment. But Quest is a centre that came out of Patria's own suffering, as you know, her own diagnosis. Quest was started because of one of the big D's in life, a diagnosis. And a diagnosis generally of the big C, right? We don't even like to call it what it is, do we? So much fear around cancer. So Quest is still a place where, in fact, on Monday, I'll be at Quest for a Quest for Life program. And that's a program where some of the team have had personal experiences of going through illness and working and finding what works for them. So Quest is still a valuable resource for all the big D's in life, as you know. But anyway, today is a story about cancer, and a dear friend of mine, let's call her Violet. And I was chatting with her yesterday, and after the chat, with her permission, and she's more than happy for me to share anything that might be useful or helpful. So I made a few notes. So a diagnosis last year of breast cancer, went through the surgery, had the breasts removed, spent all that time with a drain and all of the after effects, and then an infection, and then all the treatment that goes with that, and the hardcore drugs to treat the pain. And this is within the context of COVID. This is within the context of isolation from family. This is within the context of financial pressure as well. So now that my friend has finished 6 months of chemo, everybody's saying, yay, you're at the starting point now. And how she feels is that it's a unique position now to start the story from scratch. She said it's a change of circumstances, but the challenges haven't changed. She feels like she's been in survival mode, just getting through the surgery, the treatment, the chemo, the after effects. But she's also come to realize she's been in survival mode her whole life, putting things off. And what's really obvious now is that the treatment stopped, and there's no one now to guide her through this next part. And she realizes she's been getting through, girding herself just to get through, and having to be really stoic just to get through. And everyone's all like, yay, you finished chemo. But she feels it's just another step on the way. So, for example, she had to go to the dentist recently because chemo affects your teeth, right? Feeling vulnerable on all levels, that the bone density's dropped, that she's got blood clots now, that her legs have swollen up, that it's really hard to walk, that she can't even stand properly, and yet you've got to get yourself to the dentist so that your teeth can be, remedied before you start the next thing, which is bone strengtheners for the osteoporosis that you've got from chemo, which no one told you about. And she said she knew that it was happening. She could feel her bones weakening, but found that there was not a lot of feedback from the professionals. And she said she just did what she had to do to get through. And now that it's all over, it's kind of time to unpack. And maybe you're resonating, maybe this chimes with you. So whether you've had a serious diagnosis or not, my friends found that it's time to confront her own mortality. And whether you've had a diagnosis or not, it's a really good thing for all of us to do, because we are all going there sooner or later. So she's found herself thinking of relationships, reflecting on big questions like how effective as a human being have I been? Who am I? And is it the who am I that was based on my work? And really one of the big questions is, what has been the point? What's the point of my life? And do I matter in the scheme of things? Do I matter? Because if I'm not here, the world's going to keep turning and it won't matter. But I'm quite important to some people. And some days I feel like I'm not important to anyone at all. So a sober look at oneself now. Who am I? Where do I go from here? I wonder if any of you have had those feelings, or you've heard people in your life that have those feelings. So please share in the chat. So a sober look of where do I go from here? And she's feeling like it's a small question compared to, the enormity of everything else that's going on in the world. But of course, anyone's experience of cancer is within the isolation of COVID that we've all been experiencing. And now with chemo brain, and also the exhaustion, and also the not wanting to talk about it. So even when friends ring and try and be supportive, too exhausted to share what's going on, just cannot bring herself to talk about it anymore. And the feeling that it's not going to change, even if I do talk about it, no one can say anything that'll actually help. And so the last conversation was with the oncologist was, okay, so you're done now. And one of them signed off to give her another 4 weeks off work because she's on Centrelink benefits. 4 weeks. Now that she's finished, now that she's recovering, now that hair hasn't even grown back, the legs are puffed up, the exhaustion is there, not even recovered from the surgery, 4 weeks off work. She feels like she needs 12 months just to get over this. And, one of the nurses trying to be helpful said, most people go back to work now. No kind of validation from where she is. So she's really struggling with, I feel what might be quite common is the unpreparedness. She said, oh my God, not only could I die, and I might, but I really don't want to leave this mess for everyone. And now all the treatment's over. The only thing on offer now, physio and occupational therapy. And yet you still need the line flushed every 6 weeks and feeling like there's no medical support at all. Horrible. When you focus on these circumstances, it's not a message of hope, right? Can't have follow-up appointments with the surgeon because of COVID. No more appointments with the oncologist from here on. It's just the physio and the occupational therapist. And she's feeling a lot of anger coming up. And that's been bubbling for a while, but having to push it down because, for instance, the day after she'd had the surgery, in a lot of pain, and the breast care nurse who are, doing incredible jobs. And it's not about that, but we are talking about the care and the emotion and the difficult journey. when she was having quiet tears, not sobbing, but just quiet tears as the dressings were being changed. And the nurse says, "Don't start that now, it won't do you any good." Now you can see that might have been coming from a place of caring, but it wasn't helpful. So lots of anger about the lack of continuity of care. And also my friend said she's had more support from Twitter than in real life, from the community in Twitter. She feels like the medical profession have, and these are her words, shrouded it in mystery, that she hasn't been told what's really going on, that they stick to the script, and if you try and talk outside the script, you get shut down. And, you know, we get that. They have a very narrow protocol and what they have to focus on, and there's no deviation from that model. So my friend, who's been very invested in her whole life of lobbying government and getting provision of services for people with disabilities, getting involved in education and support, now is having no one there to lobby for her. Closing the gap in care is a really good theme, but how do we do that? I hope that me sharing this story today might inspire some of you. You might let people know about Quest, that we have a provision of services for people in this. How do we help? What can we do? And the other thing that my friend has noticed with the medical team that she has encountered in a regional place, right, not a lot of funding, that one of the health professionals, I can't remember who, said there's only a minute percentage of people who want to talk about death and dying or mortality. Most people don't want to be told the truth. And that's why the narrative is, you know, just get on with your life now. Don't think about that. That won't do you any good. Go back to work. Go and have your trip. Do what you need to do. Get your affairs in order. That's kind of the advice you're given. And her experience and in the cancer community she's been hooking into on Twitter, this supportive community, said 95% of people do not want to talk about death and dying. So her feeling is, when you want to put your hand up and ask for help, there's no one there. Her feeling is, why is it different to this support we offer with alcoholics, for instance, in AA? The minute you the minute you put your hand up and say, I need help, people are there, right? So her thing is, what is the truth? What is the essence? Am I being told, could this come back? Where is the help? But more than that, she's come to focus on, in the midst of it all, what's the real truth? What's my guiding principle here? You know, I've had 6 months to do nothing but think. I've been driving myself crazy. Now I've got no appointments to go to, only texts from the medical people. I don't know what to do now, and it's all too big. And she feels she can't spend time trying to just figure it out. She has to do something else. So the something else, and it sounds trite, the something else is be in the moment. Tune into that. And for her, it's like, come back to the present, the reality. The facts are, she does live in a beautiful spot. She has a nice view from the window. She has a companion dog. Be conscious. And that's not an easy thing to do when there's a swirl of thoughts and the what ifs and if onlys. But coming back to this moment. She said the old emotions, she even felt the old emotions of I'm not good enough from a trauma-filled childhood, keep her in the I'm not good enough at doing my cancer journey. I'm failing at chemo even, you know, because the nurses say everyone goes back to work. And she can't take that. She feels like she'd rather die than go through all this pain and treatment and stuff again. So the feeling of the difficulties in relationships, people not being there for you, she's having to come to what is the truth of this. Yeah, most relationships are difficult. Her kids are not there for her, and people say, oh, it's because they're boys, daughters would be there. And she doesn't want to get into any of that gender nonsense. The fact is, it's the quality of the relationships, and those relationships were challenging even before cancer. So it's not happy families, and it's not postcards. And the guiding truth is, I better not take this too personally. So I wonder how you feel with that. Where would you be, with a serious diagnosis? She's coming back to the question of, what is the life I want? And that's a good question, I think, for all of us every day. What is the life I want? So, cancer doesn't happen in isolation. My friend personally has a history of emotional, physical, mental abuse as a child. She's not saying cancer caused that. She's also had a question of drinking to soothe those feelings, using alcohol. She's not going to try and shame herself for that, because those feelings of pain and shame and embarrassment and grief and loss are coming up. And having someone to talk to, her at the moment it's her Twitter community, those feelings need ventilation, and they also need a bit of a witness. We can't take it all personally. We need to keep coming back to, what's the life I want, and what is right here? What's my guiding principle of right here? Right here now, I've got a roof over my head. Right here now, I'm in community. I have connection. Right here now, there's a breath. So it's about taking an honest look at it all, without the shame, without the blame, without the driving yourself crazy with the looping default mode network thinking. And the hardest thing of all is accepting things as they are, without trying to add anything on, and trying to make peace, letting go of the past. So when the only thing to be concerned about is yourself. Can't change others, can't change the circumstances, we can't change the medical system, yet the only thing we've got to do is be present with ourselves. So that's the story of my friend, and I know there'll be things in there that chime with you, and even though I'm not dealing with a cancer diagnosis, I relate to those feelings. And that old saying of, when we're well, we've got lots of desires, lots of things we want. A well person has hundreds of desires. When you're sick, you've only got one desire. Focuses the attention, doesn't it? So that's what I want to share with you today, really. Quest is a safe harbour for people with any kind of challenges. And I've met a lot of people who say, yeah, I have cancer, I have this serious diagnosis, but the real agony in my life is this history of, is my family situation, is this old loss that I'm still struggling with. So Quest is a safe harbour, and I encourage you to share the word. If today is about closing the gap in care, what could we do to raise awareness? What could we do to share? And certainly sharing because a lot of people don't even know Quest is here as a resource, as a safe place, as a place of education and support. So let people know, do what you can, stay in touch with us. And as my friend said, no matter what the challenges is, all I have is the ability to keep coming back to this moment. And we know the psychoneuroimmunological benefits of coming back to this moment are extraordinary. That's when your immune system kicks in. That's when everything starts to change. So let us do that together in community, and not only change what's going on in our body, but to change the field, to change our state. When we change our state, physically, mentally, emotionally, we're having an effect on the field in which we live. So that's what I do. That's my guiding principle. That's what I keep coming back to. And I wish that for you too. So thank you. That's what I have to share with you today. Please join me on Sunday, this coming Sunday, the 6th of Feb, for Quest Connect, 2 o'clock, 2 to 3 in the afternoon. If you can't join me live, please tune in later. And we're going to talk about how animals have been helping humans forever. And that'll be an interesting subject too. And there'll be more, of course. So any questions, any thoughts? Oh, it's so lovely to see your names there. I can't quite see everybody's names. Kathy, yeah, you can relate to your friend. For you, Kathy, mindfulness, meditation, exercise and compassion, and loads of self-care. Absolutely. You know, I was saying to someone the other day, I've renamed, or maybe it was to this community, I've renamed self-care into self-cultivation. How am I going to cultivate a wellness on a daily basis with all those things you've mentioned, Kathy? So thank you so much. It's been a joy being here. And I'll see you on Sunday, hopefully some of you. And I look forward to connecting in real life sometime soon. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.